So back in 2013, a fired LAPD officer by the name of Christopher Dorner went on a 9-day rampage in Southern California, murdering 2 police officers, a retired police captain's daughter, and her fiance, as well as injuring 3 others before taking his own life during a police standoff in Big Bear, California. And for whatever fucking reason, there's a lot of people out there who believe Dorner was a perfectly sane, innocent man who had been pushed too far by the system, that his actions were in some way heroic. People who genuinely believe that he got screwed out of a job by the racist LAPD. And so he had no choice but to fight back to reveal the truth. So today we're gonna break it down and talk about what actually fucking happened. Dorner joined the LAPD in 2005, graduated from the academy in 2006, spent about 5 seconds in FTO before deploying for 1 year with the Navy Reserve. Returned back to first phase of FTO in 2007 until he was eventually terminated by the LAPD in 2008. Dorner's problems began as early as the police academy, where he filed several complaints against several of his classmates. Red flag, even telling his primary FTO that he was planning on suing the LAPD after he completed his probation, in response to how the LAPD failed to respond to his several complaints. Not exactly something you want to share with your FTO, bud. And yes, I said several complaints. Red fucking flag. Dorner had a tough time during FTO like most recruits do, but it's fair to say he had an unusually rough time during his FTO program. Like, the dude physically cried and asked his FTO if he could go back to the police academy for more training. A lot of people just aren't cut out for this job. It also doesn't help that Dorner missed an entire year when he was out on deployment and forgot basically every little thing he did know about policing. The dude was blowing FTO and he wasn't too happy about it. July 28, 2007, Dorner and his FTO responded to a disturbance-type case at a DoubleTree hotel in San Pedro, California, involving a mentally ill man who Dorner later arrested. 2 weeks after the arrest, Dorner, who was on the verge of failing FTO, was given an unsatisfactory score on his DORs, basically confirming that he was failing FTO. The following day, Dorner filed a report alleging that his FTO had used excessive force in her treatment of the mentally ill man, accusing her of kicking the man in the chest and the face while he was in handcuffs, lying on the ground. The LAPD investigated the complaint by examining the allegation against Dorner's FTO and the truthfulness of Dorner's report through an internal review board of 2 LAPD captains and a criminal defense attorney. During the 7-month-long investigation, Dorner's FTO was taken off the road and assigned to desk duty. Dorner's attorney at the board hearing was former LAPD Captain Randall Quan. Remember this because it's important. The review board heard testimony from a number of witnesses who witnessed most of the incident, claiming that they did not see any officer kick the man at any point in time. The investigation concluded that Dorner made the entire thing up, given the totality of the unusual amount of complaints filed during his first 2 years of employment, many of which were extremely questionable, and the fact that he conveniently filed a report against his FTO the day after she said, "Hey, you're failing." I'm not all that surprised that this guy may have been bullshitting. Like, if your academy classmates, plural, are quote-unquote harassing you, it's probably a you problem. It's because you're the guy making everyone else work harder than they have to, and Dorner strikes me as a know-it-all, anti-team player who gets his class in trouble and gives the instructors fuel to torture them. Excuse me, sir, Recruit Johnson's boots aren't polished. Everyone drop. Excuse me, sir, Recruit Pacheco drank excessively last weekend. Drop top, hotbox, crockpot. Dorner appealed his termination through the Los Angeles County Superior Court, but the appeals court concluded that the LAPD had substantial evidence for its findings that Dorner was not credible in his allegations against his FTO. And look, if you think for a second that Dorner did the right thing, even if his FTO kicked a handcuffed suspect in the face, you're still fucking wrong. The right thing to do would have been to protect that suspect. Oh, I don't know, maybe even notify your supervisor. If it were me and my beat partner just injured a handcuffed suspect for absolutely no fucking reason, I'd just say, hey, that was super fucked up. Either you tell Sarge or I will. So why didn't Dorner act and rise to the occasion if he's such a virtuous guy? You're telling me he's capable of murder but not doing the right thing when a crime is being committed directly in front of him as he's standing there wearing a police uniform? with a badge and a gun? Oh, that's right. This all hypothetically started bothering him the night he found out he was failing FTO. So Dorner gets fired and decides, you know what? I'm gonna kill every single cop in Southern California for firing me. So this piece of shit set out to do just that. On February 1st, 2013, a package arrives to Anderson Cooper containing a DVD of Dorner explaining the problems he faced with the LAPD, accompanied by a bullet-riddled LAPD challenge coin with 1 minute of angle written on the back. Wow, cool groupings, you fucking psycho. On February 3rd, 2013, 28-year-old Monica Quan and her fiance, 27-year-old Keith Lawrence, were shot dead in Lawrence's parked car within a parking structure of their condominium complex in Irvine, California. Quan, a women's basketball assistant coach at Cal State Fullerton, was the daughter of Randall Quan, the former LAPD captain turned attorney who represented Dorner during his 2008 dismissal hearing. The following day, on February 4th at around 1:25 a.m., Dorner published an 11,000-word manifesto on Facebook describing his plans to kill any and all police officers in Southern California and declaring unconventional and asymmetric warfare upon the Los Angeles Police Department unless the department publicly admits that he was fired in retaliation for reporting excessive force. Dorner listed at least 40 law enforcement personnel whom he knew personally and was prepared to kill. As for the rest of the manifesto, it's just a narcissistic, psychotic love letter to himself, which even includes how sad he is that he won't be around to see the third Hangover movie because he won't survive his mission. Not like getting married and starting a family, no. He's sad that he won't see The Hangover 3 and Shark Week. He also asked Charlie Sheen to give him a phone call, so if you still think Dorner is a sane guy, you're an idiot. On February 5th, according to military sources, Dorner checked into Naval Base Point Loma in San Diego and skipped the checkout procedures when he left. While in San Diego, Dorner attempted to steal a yacht from an 81-year-old man by holding him at gunpoint. However, Dorner threw the mooring rope into the water, causing the rope to get tangled in the propeller, disabling the yacht. Wasn't this guy in the fucking Navy? Dorner fled the area, dropping his LAPD badge near the crime scene like a dumbass. The same day, Irvine police named Dorner as the prime suspect in the murders of Monica Quan and Keith Lawrence after discovering the victims' names listed in the now viral manifesto. The manifesto claimed that Quan had failed to represent Dorner's interests in favor of those of the LAPD. On February 7th, 2 LAPD officers were driving to a protection detail in Corona, California, where they were assigned as security for one of the officers mentioned by Dorner in his manifesto, when suddenly they were flagged down by a man who reported seeing Dorner just moments ago at a gas station. The officers began following Dorner's pickup truck on the 15 freeway as Dorner exited off of Magnolia. Dorner got out of his truck on the exit, set up an ambush, and opened fire, grazing the head of one officer with 223 and disabling their patrol car. The officers couldn't even notify nearby agencies because they had LAPD radios and were obviously out of district. Not even 20 minutes later, 2 Riverside police officers were fired upon while stopped at a red light. Field training officer Michael Crain unfortunately died after the shooting, and his trainee was rushed to a nearby hospital in critical condition. On the same day, at around 5:30 a.m. in Torrance, California, LAPD officers were assigned to a security detail at another home for another officer listed on the manifesto when they observed a pickup truck matching the description of Dorner's truck, driving at a high rate of speed with the headlights turned off. The vehicle continued toward the officer's direction, at which point officers mistakenly opened fire on a blue Tacoma occupied by 2 females who were in the area delivering newspapers. A total of 103 rounds were fired, and thankfully both females survived, and they also received a settlement of $4.2 million for the incident. I wasn't there, so I can't Monday morning quarterback. It was 5:30 a.m., the sun wasn't even out yet, the truck was blacked out, throwing stuff out the windows, coming down a long street where a potential victim was living. Every cop was in pucker mode. It's a shitty situation all around. Later on in the day, Dorner's actual pickup truck was found torched on a remote trail in Big Bear, California. Dorner then forced his way into an occupied cabin, tied up the couple that was living inside, and decided to lay low for a while. Multiple agencies spread out to search the surrounding area, and nearly 125 officers went door to door searching for Dorner. The media notified the public, residents were on high alert, and Bear Valley school districts went on lockdown. On February 12th, police raided a hotel in Tijuana, Mexico, based on a tip that Dorner had possibly crossed the Mexican border. On the same day, authorities also discovered surveillance footage of Dorner purchasing scuba gear at a sporting goods store in Torrance. The leads were all over the place, crossing cities, counties, countries, agencies, you name it. Southern California was on pins and needles. Even my own dad, who was working for the Ontario Police Department at the time, was assigned as the incident commander for the funeral of Officer Crain due to the high risk of a possible attack at the procession. Dorner used these terror tactics well and to his advantage. As soon as the search began to wind down, he took the couple's car out of their driveway, started heading down the mountain.
He's advising she was tied up by Chris Dorner. Suspect left 15 to 30 ago. I took keys to purple maroon colored Nissan Rogue.
Until he crashed, disabling the vehicle. How un-Rambo of you. Can't even drive a Nissan Rogue, or steal a boat, or pass FDO. A few hours later, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department responded to a report of a carjacking of a white Dodge pickup at 12:22 p.m. Fish and Game officers, of all people, were the first to spot the vehicle and recognize Dorner as the driver. Good job, Fish and Game. Officers from numerous agencies pursued Dorner to a cabin near Big Bear Lake. Dorner then exited the vehicle, opened fire on 2 officers from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, striking both. The officers were airlifted to Loma Linda Hospital, where Detective Jeremiah MacKay was unfortunately pronounced dead. Police surrounded the cabin and attempted to force Dorner out by using tear gas and gave multiple verbal commands over loudspeakers, requesting that he come out and peacefully surrender. Due to Dorner's lack of response, police used a demolition vehicle to knock down most of the walls, at which point Dorner opened fire, exchanging hundreds of rounds with police. He was also throwing smoke grenades and yelling crazy shit and going full dollar store Rambo, trying to kill as many cops as he possibly can. At this point, police deploy pyrotechnic tear gas canisters into the cabin. There's a lot of conspiracy videos out there claiming that officers were in cahoots with dispatch with some sort of evil plan to intentionally burn down the cabin.
All right, Steve, we're gonna go forward with the plan with the burner. One is like we talked about. 7 burners deployed and we have a fire.
Copy, 7 burners deployed and we have a fire.
All they were doing was notifying their dispatchers what time they deployed the pyrotechnic tear gas. The nickname for pyrotechnic tear gas is the term burners. The canister gets really fucking hot, but the canisters can ignite with the right fuel source, and they did. The cabin caught fire, and before the cabin was fully involved, a single gunshot wound was heard coming from within the cabin. As the fire continued, Dorner's ammunition began to explode, making it too dangerous for firefighters to enter the scene. 'Cause motherfucking BSI scene safety. On February 13th, it was reported that human remains were found inside. On February 14th, medical examiners confirmed during an autopsy using dental records that the body found within the basement of the burned cabin was in fact Christopher Dorner, and that Dorner had died from a single self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. It's been 8 years since the incident occurred, and with all the shit going on in recent times, Dorner has been resurrected by a minority of teenagers and e-girls claiming that his actions were heroic.
Migo, come here. There has only ever been one good cop. One. And his name was Christopher fucking Dorner!
Last time I checked, there's nothing heroic about murder. Wrongful dismissal is not an excuse to take another person's life. There's all these fucking activists out there who want the police to weed out the dipshits. So they do, Dorner being a dipshit. Then that dipshit murders 4 people, and now suddenly he's their hero. It makes zero fucking sense. He tried getting his principal in high school fired, for fuck's sake. This guy obviously has a pattern and a huge chip on his shoulder. He killed innocent people who actually did something with their lives, who had families and people they loved. And what's up with Dave Chappelle? I personally love the guy. I'm a huge fan of his comedy, but Chappelle came out and straight up said that he supports Christopher Dorner. These kids absolutely adored Monica Quan. You're really telling me that this piece of shit is a hero because Monica's dad couldn't get Dorner's job back. Officer Michael Crain was a dedicated family man, Marine, and Riverside police officer. Officer Crane's rider, Officer Andrew Takayas, recovered from his wounds and made his way back on the road in 2015. Detective Jeremiah MacKay, also a dedicated family man, served with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office for 14 years and was a legendary figure in the Celtic community. It doesn't get any more Irish than Jeremiah fucking MacKay.
I know there's a lot of people that have wonderful relationships. I felt mine was perfect.
If you don't remember anything else that we tell you about your dad, remember this. You were the light of his life. Everyone that I've talked to repeated to me that Mike Crain was above all else a family man. He never stopped talking about you. All his hopes and dreams were about his children.
And I think she was definitely someone that we could all go to and someone we could all talk to about anything that we needed to talk about. And so she was definitely more than a coach for all of us.
Being one of the youngest officers that San Bernardino County has hired. But one thing I knew about Jeremiah, it wasn't just about serving, because he could serve as a firefighter. He could make a difference as a firefighter. But that actually wasn't enough for him. He wanted to intervene when somebody was hurting somebody else.